Hi, welcome to Twin Flames Data's Peace Within. I have not uploaded on this channel for a super long time. I kind of abandoned it, I'm not gonna lie, for a time because I was just like, sorry about the lighting by the way, it's pretty early in the morning, but I thought it's better to do a visual than a podcast because sometimes I have another YouTube channel and do podcasts on there. But anyway, I thought I'd give a little update on my twin flame journey and a couple of sort of little known things I've experienced on the twin flame journey in particular. Because for a while it was just like there was not much happening, and the last I updated, I mean, I haven't really done any updates, I can't lie. I filmed a couple, but I just didn't upload them because they were kind of boring, like I was in no contact with my twin and stuff. So I have had experiences though where, like, I've had a lot of interactions through my healing journey, attracting a lot of soulmates. Like, first of all, as well, I think it's really important to mention that I definitely have evolved. My like soul has evolved and stuff. I'm very much trying to integrate being from a space of like a spiritual person and trying to fight this like world stigma of like I have to work from like the physical and I have to work. So I always like try and I do a lot of podcasts on another channel that I have, and it's always about like working from a place of spiritualness for the people that are spiritual rather than on the physical level or on a tangible level. And also, I'm working from like a rule book basically, which logistically a lot of people work from that. I think I'm very much moving from a place more of integrated spirituality, and I attract a lot of people that are in that same way. I think because I think spiritual people are lesser known, and they don't always get seen in society because they're not always perpetuated most in marketing and stuff. Anyway, a bit of a random preface, but that's kind of how I've evolved. But anyway, I feel like through my journey kind of healing myself, and I found the community on Twin Flames Universe, which I was recently blocked from, but then managed to get reintegrated into anyway. Just because someone's a twin flame doesn't mean you're going to get on with them. I think someone blocked me for basically a really bad reason, but regardless, maybe I had some karma there. I honestly don't know. But it's just when I spoke about my last experience, so with my twin, the romantic twin that I have, is with his twin soul at the moment, and I kind of have been going through this process of like, it's a struggle, but I'm kind of doing a lot of past life regression, and the place I'm in is very much of the acceptance as to, though there is a lot of belief around being able to heal your way into union and then being reunited with your twin. I'm very much of the belief system that I have many past life regressions where my twin didn't even incarnate in. I'm not going to take away from the fact that you can heal into union with your twin. I'm not discounting that, but I also think on my personal journey I do a lot of regressions that involve me not even incarnating with my twin in the first place, and having soulmate relationships where I've been married and where I've had kids with them, which have been very fulfilling and soul evolving, hence the word soulmate, necessary soul evolving experiences. Because I don't believe that you incarnate with your twin in every lifetime. That's not my personal spiritual belief. And obviously there's always going to be opposition in the spiritual community, and it's not about being jarred by someone that's pushing a narrative that doesn't resonate with you. I don't do that shit. That's not for me. So I will speak my spiritual truth, and that's my personal belief. And I've had many soulmates in this lifetime that I have had really fulfilling relationships with, and I've had like really profound, like I have this feeling recently as well that I notice when there are other twin flame sets around. I've met many of them and had friendships with some of them unknowingly. I have had like past life sibling relationships with a set of twins that I didn't even know were twins, and it's bizarre, it's random as fuck. But I only recently like went back and I start to depict, I'm at a space within my spiritual awakening of like, I'm going to past lives and I'm seeing people's connections, and I can see them in other people, I can see them within myself. And this is kind of a cool thing, to be fair, because I don't think everyone genuinely can do this. They're not necessarily spiritual, but I definitely am. And it's kind of a pretty cool like sensation, I can't lie. Because because I don't think everyone, maybe they can do this, but it's like maybe not in this lifetime while going through this experience, they're not focused on it or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool to see like the people I've connected with in the past that were genuinely past life siblings of mine, or past life partners, or even possibly children, you know, certain things. And I found a couple of times where like I'd say a couple of times in particular, there's this new concept that I've come to see, or has come to light in my life, where this idea of merging twin flame sets. Now, I have had and held the belief there are four, I'm not going to say have and held the belief because it sounds like I have to argue against a different spiritual belief. There are 4 twin flame, I'm going to speak from matter of fact. This research I've done categorizes there are 4 twin flames in a set. There are 2 feminine and 2 masculine. And that is the case for me, and I've incarnated all 3 of my other twins. There are 4 of us in my set, and I think a lot of the time this isn't the case. It can be 1, it can be none, it can be all, you know, it can be 2. But something that I have found recently is this idea of merging twin flame sets, as in you get 2 sets of 4, and in sort of cyclical lifetimes there comes a time where it's necessary for the soul's growth to merge with another twin flame set. And I think the same thing happens where when you first meet your twin in the first place, you're often going through this like really shit time and this really like dark time in your life where like you may not like you may be struggling from mental illness, you may have drug problems, you may be very depressed, you may just be craving this sort of like transcending charge without knowing it, sort of thing. And then when you meet your twin, you get this very big powerful wave of energy that's very healing and very powerful and very strong. And I think this is something that I am finding myself to the point where I and a particular other twin flame set of mine I can see are probably going through this moment, and I think there's this merging that's starting to happen, in particular with one. So let me explain the situation because I really want to talk about it, I can't lie. And though the forum I use on Facebook is good, I start to see that there are twin flames on there that potentially I just don't want knowing all my business, and I have had opposition. There's a lot of like, and for the good, like it's good to have people perpetuate the truth in twin flame sets, but there are things that it's just hard for me. I don't want to defend myself when I talk about my experience. I just want to have my own place to vent my truth. But you know, and so yeah, so the particular situation that has stood out to me recently has been that I have not had contact with the romantic twin in my set. I have contact with the twin that I've posted a video with, who's a friend of mine and a past life ongoing friend of mine, obviously my twin as well, and also another twin that I have, which I also don't have contact with, and it's not possible for me to have a great deal of contact with at the moment for reasons that I won't share. And basically I had this really weird experience where like, well, it's not the weirdest experience I've ever had, I can't lie, but this interaction that I had, and I was compoundingly seeing this, and I have absolutely no thought about it whatsoever at all, until all of a sudden I just had this moment of like, oh shit. And I had all this like past life, all these past life like memories almost, and like this feeling of like, I'm trying to think exactly what happened. Like all of a sudden, I don't know, I had this like really and they talk about this a lot, and I've seen a lot of readings on this at the moment where this is happening to a lot of people, where because I don't know, because of a lot of the population has been wiped out or something, people's telepathic like signaling is very much like stronger than what it used to be. And it means that from this level of like you know, people being like connecting, you get this very much stronger telepathic connection, and you can have really tiny surface level like seemingly nothing interactions with someone, and then you can just get, as I say, this massive energetic transference and stuff. And it's definitely something that's happened to me, where like I had genuinely no thoughts about this person I was interacting with in particular at all. it was literally nothing to ever. But then, as I say, all of a sudden I just saw them one time, and I just like something about like there was like an eye contact moment, and I'm pretty sure what the hell triggered in them. I think they literally had this, I can only assume, had a charge, and I don't think it was conscious. I think something in the universe charged them, because I was trying to avoid an interaction with them anyway. It's not even that important, the interaction that actually sparked this thing off, because it was very, very innocent, nothing interaction. But I'm pretty sure like they made a conscious choice. You could see I was trying to swerve them, and they did make a conscious choice to like jump in front of me and made proper eye contact with me. And something, all of a sudden, I was just like, there was just this like moment. And as I say, at the time I thought nothing of it, but I was like, if anything, I was a bit jarred, and I was like, oh my god, this person like is like a lot, and he reminds me of my crazy ex. But I kind of went on about my day, and all of a sudden I was like, fuck, like I know this person from a past life. This is just genuinely a past life person, like I can feel it. And so I started doing regressions, and I was like, and it was to the point where like, and it usually is on the twin flame journey, it's like you don't do it until you feel that much pain and that much discomfort within your body, to the point where you actually do it, like the regressions and stuff. Because I was just like, whatever, and I was just going about my life, and then all of a sudden I was just like, oh, you know, because I think I did a couple of regressions, because I was just like, okay, well, what's this about then? But it wasn't until a lot later, I think, to wonder. I mean, I don't know. I started to think about it because I've done my regressions, and I know how to identify people from my past lives and stuff now. So I was like, okay, yeah, there's definitely something here. Because as I say, it wasn't something that I noticed. It wasn't something I was like focused on. When I look back, there's always been some sort of like, it was very unconscious though. I think there has been some sort of level of like really subconscious oppressed, and I can see now why it was oppressed, because there was some past life trauma that caused an oppression, to the point where I may have on some level recognized this person, but I wasn't consciously aware of it. My consciousness was not allowing me to be aware of it, and I think it was the same for them as well. Because I think sometimes it's because this is the difference. I pass people on the street sometimes, and I can be like, oh my god, and I can sort of recognize them from a past life. It's a weird thing. Like I spoke to someone yesterday, and I was like, it wasn't until I walked away from them until I remembered that I definitely had they were like soulmate of my past life, and like and I could recognize them. Again, it's not that deep. It happens to me all the time. And because there's no coincidences in this universe, you always pass souls that you've met before. Not all of them are, but it happens more often than you'd want to think. And yeah, so anyway, it's a weird thing, because usually I can walk past a past life soulmate and just be like, okay, yeah, it's a past life soulmate, whatever. This was something where I genuinely didn't have the recognition. I didn't have, like, my brain wasn't conscious of it, and it was due to a deep oppression from trauma. And I see that now, and which is why it's been such a bit of a big spiritual thing that's happened. Again, and I'm used to this being very like remote of an experience. With the twin flame journey, you get very much used to the telepathic communication. You get very much used to the sort of vibrational attunement of the universe and such like that, and that's part of the experience in general. So I'm very much used to this very remote experience when it comes to twins. But as I say, I did this regression. I was like, okay, yeah, so you've had this very traumatic past life, very recent past life, I believe my last past life, this very traumatic experience which has caused this oppression. And I've kind of explored that in my past life regressions to the point where I kind of understand it. I also believe that potentially they could be a soulmate of mine, like a significant one, where we could be having children in about three lives time. My inclination, in a few lifetimes, I imagine that we will have children. This is just like my intuition from my past life regressions and my predictions in that sense. But it was a bit bizarre, because usually, because I have had these sort of interactions before where, but not usually this powerful, and I can see why. As I say, I think there's this powerful trauma that created some level of block there. And so in particular, I've had this sort of feeling in the past where, though I have a particular set of twins and a particular set of twin souls, which I'm very much aware of who they are, so I do have two twin souls as well, I believe, though, just as a little preface on my twin soul journey, I think this video will be a bit scattered, but if anyone wants to watch it, then they can. On my twin soul journey, there has been a situation where I think one of my twin souls has actually died, and the other, but I'm still in contact with them in the spiritual realm. They, I believe, have incarnated on another planet, and I believe that, well, I don't want to say I believe because it sounds like I'm gaslighting myself. I know for a fact I've had spiritual interactions with them. They are on another planet, and they are incarnated as an alien on another planet, but they can travel back to this planet. I have experienced it, and I do have brief interactions with them from time to time. And if I call on them, they will come and be. And as I say, even in the 3D before they died, I had about 1 or 2 conversations with them. That was it. I never built any sort of a friendship with them. I never had any sort of a relationship with them. And then they just died out of the blue, and it really killed me. And this is probably the most likening thing I can relate this past experience to. Obviously, it's not as extreme as that, but I can't, like, it was like a chunk of me died when this person died, and I'd had 2 conversations with them. It was absolutely profound. Like, anyway, and it's kind of weird because I've met someone who's got the same name as them, and I'm going to have a hook up with them soon. And I actually do really like them as a person, because I know that they've got a cool soul, because that was the name of what my twin soul used to be. But it's not like I'm trying to replace them necessarily, but it's just that, like, I'm just excited for that, because I feel like they've got a really good energy, and it's an energy that matches mine, which a lot of people don't. I mean, they do in certain ways, but maybe not in other ways. And so anyway, that's the closest thing I can relate this to something where seemingly in the physical, ironically enough, it seems so untangible, but in the spiritual it's so profound. And so anyway, that's the situation with my twin souls. So one of my twin souls as well, because there's been such a traumatic experience with them in this lifetime, just various reasons I don't want to go into who they are, what they are at all, but it's something where, like, the universe has actually kind of severed our connection at this time. So they will always be my twin soul, but in this lifetime I have no spiritual, really sort of like tangible connection to them. It's like the connection is there, but it's very like deadened. It's like completely it's like dormant, shall I say, I suppose, until that trauma in another life or something will, and often I find just as the same, I can only liken it to this concept I've heard of, this idea of, in Irish folklore they have this thing called a changeling, which is when a child is really traumatized, and this like spirit comes in called a changeling, and it comes in to sort of like take the place of this, like, of the soul parts of a human that died, that is like deadened from like a traumatic experience. It's called a changeling. And the same thing goes if someone is suicidal, another spirit can come in to sort of in the physical take its place and like move forward in the space of that person because they're suicidal, which is the only thing I can liken this to, because it's sort of similar in this swapping situation. And obviously in, you know, that idea of like Freaky Friday, like swapping like souls with someone or whatever, or karma or something. Also there's that idea of swapping, but I'm seeing this idea of twin souls and twin flames being the case where from time to time, like, I can tell the universe is bringing in these souls to temporarily take the space of a twin flame or a twin soul, so my soul can evolve in a particular way. And it's something that I've not spoken about, I've not really heard people talk about, but it's definitely an experience I have had, especially because of the contact that I have, especially with my twin souls. Which, it's not like my soul feels nothing, it's not like they're both dead to me, but like they're very much alive. I can feel that energetic transference to one degree or another, but it's the contact that I have, as I say, is traumatically stunted and dormant with one, and it's not something that's supposed to heal in this lifetime. It's supposed to be that I've had my soul's contract with that twin soul in this lifetime, so there's no more need for interaction. It's going to re-traumatize my soul to have a continuation of that experience with that soul of this lifetime. So that's where that stopped. And then with my, as I say, so there's this sort of space for soul evolution, which is why these souls are being brought in to to temporarily take those spaces. Some of them have just faded back out again, but I'm feeling this very much profound. I don't know how from the channeling I've done, I can perceive that it is something that I've seen in other twin flame sets, in patting. Like there's a group of people on YouTube. I'm actually just not going to name them because someone might see it and message them or whatever, and they probably have never heard of the concept in their lives. But I'm sure this is something I've seen within them, and probably in passing a lot of people probably are the same, where it's this like idea of twin flame sets. It can probably happen to more people than that, or more sets, where you merge your souls. So you're still your same twin flame sets, you are the same soul as your twin flames still, but you get another set of twin flames where like maybe you've done enough evolution within your twin flame set to have transcended that experience of connection with them to the point where your soul, and I don't know how many groups this has happened with overall, but I think it's quite a I would say I don't think it has happened to me before in this lifetime. I don't know, because you merge a lot with different people. No, I mean, not in the same way though. I mean, I've had close soul relationships anyway, so yeah, I can only assume again, because it is, I can't like minimize what this experience is, because profound spiritual experiences happen to people all the time. I'm not going to gaslight myself, and they happen to me from time to time. And it's like, as I say, when your soul evolution has met this point of transcendence to a point where you sort of like know what you're doing, and you may have also found like a level of like maybe stagnancy, maybe just lack of ability to grow, or kind of like you neglect what you're used to one degree or another. I think this is also a time, and also if you're going through a lot of crap and you just need a charge and this is why sometimes this can happen at particular times. And I believe it's like from what I can see, it's not a full merging. I don't know to what degree this happens, and as I say, how common it is. I don't think it's particularly common. Like, it's common within twin flame sets, but I don't think it happens with every set of people that you come into contact with. Do you know what I mean? Because it is a very specific thing that if you've gone through the twin flame merge, you will know of. It's a very specific thing where you do have this sort of brief interaction or like long interaction where you meet your twin in the physical, and then you go through this whole experience of like the merging and the separation and this and that and the other, and it's a very chronological process that is very specific to twin flames, and it doesn't happen with every person. And then you've got this like pull, and there's just a lot of shit that goes down with that. So as I say, I don't know how to the sense I get, it is to one degree or another a merging that I'm experiencing with another twin flame set, as I say, due to the absence of two of my twins, and in theory two of my twin souls. I potentially believe that this is potentially why this is happening. And as I say, I don't know how permanent it is. From my channeling, I can assume that it is permanent, because it is, as I say, I come into contact with quite a lot of different twin flame sets, as I say, many of which I've had sibling relationships with in the past, many of which I have had relationships with in the past. But this is a little bit different in that, as I say, it's more of a high vibrational experience, and it's very much more aligned with the twin flame vibration than a lot of my other soulmate relationships have been. As I say, it consists of, let's get specific, a particular soulmate. It doesn't matter about the people in the whole thing, but the particular one which I feel that has come in as a substitute to one of my twins at the moment. I feel like I'm in this sort of dynamic with one other person who's a twin and me who's a twin, but the universe has come to a point where it's like merging the two of us, so we are two twins within a set in theory, this sort of like temporary two twin set, where it's supposed to sort of, I suppose, potentially create the foundation for this other merging that I can see outside of that, between the two sets in particular. And it's just a lot. It's a lot because I've not experienced this before, and it's just very, very, very similar to the first. Like, I feel like because all of my experiences with meeting my first, second, and third wave have come at different times. I feel like it's just a lot because I feel like I've had one that I've met and had this process with, I've had two that I've met and had this process with, I've had three that I've met and had this process with, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was a lot, that was amazing, but I don't want to do it again. Not necessarily I don't want to do it again, but like, I feel like I'm now having this very overwhelming experience, because I wouldn't say overwhelming, but it's a lot to handle, because it's a very highly tiring and highly energetic experience, and a highly profound, insightful experience to have this sort of twin flame merging experience. And when you go through that process of having two twin flame sets merge, I just don't know how much energy that's going to take at this time. Obviously, it will all come in the timing it's supposed to, but I'm very much finding it quite, if I'm honest, overwhelming. And I don't know, it's one of the, so as I say, the particular twin that I'm finding this merging experience with is definitely a past life soulmate. As I say, I feel like I've had very recent, like the most recent past life with him, and I feel like have another past life with him in a very close future. And I do have this very like abnormally strong pull towards them, very much like a twin flame, which is very, very different to any other connection in the universe. Past life soulmate, current life soulmate. And I'm not trying to exacerbate the importance or the multitude, the amount, the importance of twin flames over any other relationships. I think they're very much have the same credentials as any other relationship, and they're no more logistically more important, but they are, though, through the same token, the most high vibrational experience. And you do get a very particular level of symptoms, for example, this very, very strong pull and magnetism, which you don't often get in soulmate relationships. Not to say that soulmates are any less powerful. And as I say, I was very much in this space of like, okay, well, cool. And I still believe, I don't think there's going to be, honestly, anything that's going to particularly manifest in the physical, potentially, or maybe no, I would say possibly and most likely not in the physical in this lifetime. But the fact that there's still emerging is right, it's all makes sense within the universe, but it's like there is definitely still emerging. I definitely don't feel like there will be, like, I feel like we have this very close like twin flame level connection at this time, and it's nice because, as I say, there's this very, very strong pull that I have toward them. But I don't think, as I say, from the regressions I've done, from the channeling I've done as to what my future soulmate like chronology like timeline will look like, I don't foresee there being any significant relationship contact with them in this lifetime. I just don't see it. But I do think on a spiritual level, there has already been a merging within that level, which I have not experienced with another twin flame set in this lifetime that I can recall. Yeah, it's just not the same. It's like when you care about a soulmate and you want to spend time with a soulmate and you love them and you miss them because you're in a relationship with them, it's a different type of vibrational pull and experience, especially someone that's codependent. Like, I know what it feels like to need that love, but it's not really coming from that space that I can perceive. I think it's more coming from a twin flame kind of space, and there is a difference there. and it's more of a my soul needs to be one with your soul, because there is a lot of like sort of exchange that my soul needs at this time, and my being needs at this time to evolve, and that's the difference. You can get stuff from soulmates, and you can and it's very different. It is different. It sounds like it's not that different, but it is. There is a discrepancy there, and if you look at all of those experiences next to each other, though they all kind of reside in this vibration of love, it's still a different frequency. You've got a twin flame frequency, you've got a soulmate frequency, you've got a desperation frequency, needing to have that connection, and that's the reason that you're being pulled to them. And I think to a degree it kind of is like this, but as I say, the twin flame experience is to merge two souls, or 4 souls or 8 souls, as the case may be. I don't know if I'm going to have this full-blown merging with the other load of twin flames in his set. I don't know, because I'm still on this experience, and I will try and update with more updates, but at this time I just feel like I'm going through this whole other, and I don't think it's going to, in my personal belief, I don't think it's going to be a full-blown twin flame merging experience. I think it's just going to be a partial merge. Like, it will be like a I have full access to connect with you as a twin, but we are not, like, you can qualify it being the same twin to a degree, but you still, like, the experience is that you're not part of the same, you didn't originate as the same set. Like, you still got your 3 twins, which you've had consistently in all of those lifetimes. That will not change, but your soul and the 2 sets of twins have created this soul agreement to make a merge, so both of your experiences from those consistent lifetimes that you have spent. But I also think, because of the cyclicalness of the universe in general, this is something that repeats from period to period, be whatever time period that is, and usually there's some level of consistency in how that happens. And I definitely know that this has happened before, and this is why I think it is quite a profound experience, because I don't think it necessarily happens in every lifetime. I know for a fact it doesn't happen in every lifetime, so I know I haven't merged with all of my twin flames in every lifetime, because I haven't incarnated with them. So as I say, it's something that is quite new to me, and it is quite a lot. As I say, it's quite a lot of energy to go through this experience again. But as I said, I don't think it's going to be as intense, potentially. Well, it's not necessarily about, I honestly don't know, but I know that it's going on because I can feel it. And yeah, I honestly, it's got to the point where I'm literally so, but yeah, just to reiterate, I don't think it's going to be something, like, I know I can literally tell on a logistic level and on a tangible level that in this lifetime, like, there's not going to be much or any, should I say any of a physical like interaction with them that goes beyond the spiritual at this time. But as someone that's very invested in the spiritual, I can only imagine that this has to be, your soul gets what it needs, do you know what I mean, to one degree or another. And sometimes you can think you need certain physical interactions with them from places of lust or from places of societal conditioning, but at the end of the day, if your soul is getting what it needs from that soul level, you can only assume that that is what is necessary for your evolution. Because I might be wrong, but I usually can, I don't know, because I think things can change, and I think things can show up sometimes, even if you, like, 'cause if you would have asked me years and years ago, before I met my twin or any of my twins, I think you have to be at a particular space of your soul's evolution. And I know that different twins come into contact and they become twins. They meet their twin in varying different ways. You know, I have heard this concept before of having this very compounding really, really nothingness interaction with them, to the point where suddenly there's like potentially this really slow burning experience where you've sort of got these really small interactions, but you have this really strong pull towards them, but there's not much happening in the 3D. Whereas for me, they just outrightly came and spoke to me. One of them I just ended up building a friendship with, and one of them just outrightly started talking to me, and I just ended up like starting a relationship with them off the bat, and that was nice and simple and easy. There was no difficulty about it, like that. It was just quite simple like that. Whereas this is very different. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure they're in a relationship. However fluid that may be, I don't know, but it's like something that, like, as I say, I think what I was trying to say was, if you would have told me that they were my twins when I was too young to understand this stuff, and when I was too unevolved as a person to truly like get it, like, to, you don't understand what this sort of stuff is, like, until, I don't know, you interact with an experience and a person when you are ready to manage that mentally. Do you know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, the more I think into this connection that's begun to form with this random in the physical person, that, again, this is not what I'm used to when it comes to twin flame interaction, the more I can sort of be like, okay, well, I genuinely don't foresee, just because of the lack of immediate connection and free flowing connection I've had with them, that I can't see the tangible, like, opportunity for, and also just within my, as I say, being, I kind of have got this, which is usually accurate, this sort of like feeling of chronologically what my soul will experience through my life and my interactions, and particularly in terms of relationships, it's usually just pretty spot on. So, and I can just see, like, a lot of my healing and a lot of my growth as well has come from, like, healing from narcissists. And I think that potentially they've got narcissistic traits. I don't think they're a bad person at this point, and I think narcissists are very, 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 very good at love bombing. And as I say, I'm sure in another life we've had and I know we have because I can remember it, have had very functional, long-lasting connections. This is potentially maybe why our souls are quite careful with how little we interact with each other in this lifetime, because we know that our personalities will not merge functionally, and we remember that there has been functionality and stuff in the past where there has been that grounding for that connection, which potentially in this lifetime there just physiologically isn't, because there's not supposed to be, but potentially in the spiritual there is, or something. As I say, a lot of my healing has come from healing from narcissists, and I feel like, as I say, being more and more in touch with my empathy, it is just a commonly known fact from anyone that's experienced narcissistic relationships as an empath that they inevitably do not usually, I mean, they do. One of my twins, who's my friend, is probably a narcissist to one degree or another, but I just don't take him seriously, so it works. As I say, sometimes you can, but when it comes to romantic relationships, they often are not foundationally strong enough to be fulfilling for either party, if I'm honest. And so this is why I believe that this is like not something that's necessarily going to have physical grounding in this lifetime, but not to say that I won't have powerful relationships. I know that there are a lot of soulmates that are trying to, in the right time, in due course, come into my experience, because I have interactions with them and have had interactions with them, physical, technological, shall I say, interactions with them, you know, now. Whereas I can't see that in the physical there. I don't know, you never know what's going to happen, and it's one of those things where like when I had to make peace with the fact that me and my twin probably weren't going to be, because I did a lot of the work, and I still have the work to do. Something that I see on the twin flame journey is like, they're always going to trigger your evolution, and they're always going to be you in your soul, but it's like, it's a very hard pill to swallow, and it happens in whatever way you deal with that, to know that your soul contract is not forever, is not romantically ordained forever, because in this lifetime, because you've got other soul contracts with other soulmates that are going to evolve your soul to a place where this twin cannot. And that's a really hard thing to, and it's something that I've kind of come to terms with now, but it's kind of the same thing happening again, where I'm like, oh, you know, I have to kind of come to that bitter truth again, that like, even though I've got this like strong urge towards someone, and I know that will level out and balance out, because that's part of the growth that happens with twin flames. You have this really powerful triggered kind of, and not always triggered, sometimes it's like just because you need to connect with that person for various reasons, but usually like there's a balancing out of that, when that connection is made and when those triggers are balanced properly, and when the push and pull energy is balanced fully, you can get to a place where it's like much more comfortable to be connected to them, rather than having this, like, if you've got this, you know, extreme pull towards them, it's usually because there's more merging that needs to happen. But yeah, I think honestly, just to add, I think this could be happening in my experience. It will be different for everyone, but I think this could be happening in my experience partially because I know I have had to deal with issues around lust in the past, simply because that has been something that I have been very much in connection to, and I don't know whether there's a reason for that. I don't know whether like I'm going to get involved with like sex work in the future or something, because I do enjoy that side of life. And I've always been someone that has enjoyed that side of life with other people, and I do like to engage in these things with my romantic partners. But I also know that I have to be able to maybe come to an acceptance of the fact that, like, you can have, and I've experienced this with my twin, you can have sex with someone over and 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 over again for years and years and years and years and years, but it doesn't necessarily meet the needs that you're trying to get met in that experience. And yes, sex is a beautiful thing, and it is a form of connection, and it is a catalyst for connection. It is how the Kundalini processes trauma and stuff like that. It's a powerful catalyst for evolution in that sense, spiritually and holistically in general, but it doesn't necessarily, there starts to be conflict when you are each promising each other that through this act alone, which largely is an act of pleasure over an act of integration and evolution and Kundalini clearing, it can be that, but there is only so much of that happens within that experience. It's a powerful experience, but you have to also, I believe, reciprocally parallel do that spiritual work as well, on a holistic level and on a logistic level, to clear everything that you need to clear with your triggers and stuff, to have a functional relationship. Because I know the reason that I went no contact, or that me and my twin went no contact, and he ended up with his twin soul, was largely because of this extreme conflict that we were having, partially due to potentially social differences, if you could assume that. I don't know if that's a fair assumption. You could assume through the whole narcissistic empath thing, but it's something I've heard in the twin flame community though, is when you get a narcissist and an empath, it can be sometimes like something that can be balanced, and there can be like different life experiences which create those dynamics. which is something that I can believe, because one of my twins, I believe, is way more narcissistic than me in certain aspects, and I get on with them fine, and I'm not triggered by it. But anyway, it's either for me to I honestly, if I'm being honest though, it could just be a catalyst for me to do more spiritual work. And it's something though that like it's very much taken my interest in a very dark place though. So like it's been a bit of a weird sort of, as I say, it's a very charging experience to have a twin flame merge. I'm in two minds as to whether, because I very much marginalize myself to being an empath and wanting this very quiet, no stress life, partially potentially down to my autistic traits and stuff, where like, and it is true, and I'm not saying that I would want to, and I think that is probably the life that I will have, and that is the life that I want. And it could just be me overcoming and understanding a fuck ton of chaos that I've experienced in the past, with similar personality styles to them, to one degree or another. But I also think potentially it could be for me to integrate, because I think a lot of the thing about twin flames as well is about integrating. They embody something that you need to integrate as well. That is a massive part of the twin flame journey. So it's like I perceive them potentially for me to integrate,